Dan Steininger, the president and founder of BizStarts. I don't know how we got so lucky that the Brewers game is today, and unfortunately they're hot, so people want to go. There's backups all the way to the Marquette interchange, and this is a great place for parking when you come to this club. But the lot's full because they're shuttling people to Miller Park. You know, we could all close down and go over and want to watch a baseball game. By the way, just a short story about another sports team. You've heard of the Milwaukee Bucks? Right? So I live over in the east side, and I swim in Lake Michigan. So this goes back a few weeks ago when the Bucks were playing Atlanta. That night they had a game. So I'm on the beach and I'm swimming, and I get out and there's this really tall dude. He's just sprinting up Bradford Beach. Now Bradford Beach is more than a half mile, so he's going full out, and then walking back, full out up another half mile back. Oh my God, this guy's incredible, and he's tall and strong. And I began, this guy looks familiar. Sure enough, that's True Holiday, our starting guy. So I was gonna say, look, True, you know, hi, good luck tonight, but would you stop running? You have a 3-hour game tonight. What, are you crazy? So actually, he did look a little tired that night, but these guys are in great shape. So real quickly, by way of introduction, I'm going to introduce Professor Morris. Before I do, just a couple things I want to share with you. That is, I want to just go around real quickly and just whoever wants to volunteer. Why are you here? Why do you think about being a mentor? I don't care what your answer is, what makes you want to do this. I'm just curious, and so the professor can listen to you too. Why do you want to be a mentor? What do you think?
I can go. So do you want me to like introduce myself or just?
No, just say what you know.
I was interested in coming here and learning about this because I think that in every job I've ever been, in every step of my career, I've had mentors that have helped me so much, and I would like to start to be able to do that for other people.
Other people. And in my days as a CEO early on in my career, I realized I have no idea what I'm really doing, so I ended up hiring consultants. But when you're a CEO of a company, you can do that. If you're an entrepreneur, you have no money, you can't hire consultants. So I like you've been an entrepreneur. Tell me why you want to do this.
I want to do this because I started my company in my 30s, and I don't know a lot about running a company, but I started 3 or 4 things on my own. Wedding planning, I do personal training, nutrition, and I just want to be able to share with other people, whether they're younger and wanting to start their own company, not to be scared and just to go for it and try it, and you have other people around you that are going to help you, and I'd like to be one of those people that can help other people succeed.
Good stuff. Our former port director for the Port of Milwaukee, an entrepreneur in his own right, this person who started Lake Express when he came to me and said, I got a marketing study. We could actually have a transportation system to Michigan. And I'm the Easter Bunny, Ken. That was our port director, Ken Zally. And why are you here, Ken? What do you think? Your way to wisdom. Who, by the way, under his leadership, we became the fastest growing port on the Great Lakes, to the point that we won the award, the Seaway Builder Award, so often they told us not to apply.
A couple of reasons. One reason, big reason, is you brought me here 35, 36 years ago to stay 3 years, and I'm still here. So I figured
He was in Houston at the time running a shipping company.
So I figured that maybe the time was right where I would accept your invitation and do some mentoring. But I think I have a bunch of relevant experience that I can share with younger folks. I can say that because I'm older than them, but with younger folks that might be helpful to them, particularly in the critical startup phases of business.
True story about Ken. He'd been working for us for about, I said, Ken, I want you to look at the port. We got problems, big time, tonnage just dropped, all these horrible things. We can't get through the Great Lakes in winter, they're frozen. And tell me what you think. So he spent a few months, talking to customers, talking to port staff, and then he comes to me over breakfast, this is 3 months into it, and says, oh, so Ken, you had 3 times. What do you think our game plan should be? And he said, oh, that's real easy. We're not going to be a port anymore. I said, Ken, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and you just said we're not going to be a port anymore, and I brought you already from Houston. Have you been drinking? 10 years later, I said, no, Dan, I got to figure out. We're not going to be a port. We're going to be a transportation and distribution center. 10 years later, that port was doing as much rail and trucking out of the port as shipping. That's the guy who understood what's the niche. So Well, we could go on, at least you guys all have good motives for being here. Before I introduce Professor Morris, I just want to give you a couple thoughts, just to bear with you as you engage entrepreneurs as a mentor. And this comes from my days in the Peace Corps, in Kenya, East Africa. The Peace Corps is one of the most successful foreign aid programs we've ever had. They did not send us to Kenya, East Africa, into the remote villages, unless they trained us. And what we did is I learned to speak Swahili. We learned their culture, we learned to understand. They didn't allow us to have a car because that wouldn't have worked in these small villages. And I learned that when you go to another culture and you talk to other people, it's a whole different thing. So you'll find in your packet today tips for engaging entrepreneurs, but just a couple quick things to keep in mind. When you talk to an entrepreneur and you're their mentor, small talk counts. When you first encounter them, I don't care, talk about weather, talk about anything that's small talk as you get to know them. Start to ask questions that they can handle. Tell me a little bit about yourself, or why do you want to get in business, and what was your background, and tell me about your parents, whatever. Start to develop a friendship with them. Don't come in and I'm this smart person who's done all these yada, yada, yada. No, get to know them, learn, spend the time. You're all curious, you wouldn't be here. Learn what they think and how they act, and what are their hot buttons, and what have they done in life. And then from that you can transition to, and a couple other things, use humor. We talk about the Bucks, talk about baseball, anything, because humor breaks through that, whatever, that between you and them. And lastly, throw away all the lingo. You don't talk about the market differentiation of your product or service. Why are you different? Use normal language, not BizStarts speak. Well, okay, those are a couple of tips you can read about in the and by the way, that small talk thing, this is just once Entrepreneur Magazine. It was a whole article about how to carry on a conversation, believe it or not. Okay, I'd like to introduce Professor Morris of Notre Dame, whose programs we have been using as our benchmark as we rolled out our Entrepreneur Boot Camp. I could spend a lot of time reading his bio. I won't. He has written many books, but the most compelling one, and why we're here, is that I founded BizStarts and focused and changed our pivot to helping people who need the help the most. Milwaukee is the 4th poorest city in the nation. Behind all of your wanting to help, that's a pretty sad statistic. And the way we're going to change that is help, and Professor Morris really has created something that most of America doesn't seem to recognize. You're going to create wealth, not by handing people checks, not by saying this and that. No, you're going to go in and help people help themselves, as we did in the Peace Corps. You're going to help people start businesses. That creates wealth. And with Professor Morris, and this is a book, if you haven't read it, you should get it and read it. I don't know how you can sleep nights if you haven't read this book, Poverty and Entrepreneurship in Developed Countries. And he has identified why people from poor, impoverished backgrounds can be phenomenally successful business people, create wealth in their neighborhoods, jobs for their families. So he's a professor at Notre Dame. He's done this in cities all over the country, and we couldn't think of someone we're more proud to be aligned with. So Professor Morris, with that introduction.
Thanks, Dan. I just wish my students had as many Post-it notes in my books. It's a privilege and honor to be with you all, and I'll try to make efficient use of your time. I hope you'll feel comfortable jumping in, asking questions, sharing perspectives as we go. But I want to talk about a different solution to poverty, and that is looking at entrepreneurship as a vehicle for empowerment. So as a pathway out of poverty, that's what this program's about, that's what we're trying to do. And as you'll see as we talk, the challenge is not to get people in disadvantaged circumstances to start businesses. That's actually pretty easy. The challenge is to make those businesses sustainable, to get them to the point that they generate enough profit that they meaningfully improve the economic circumstances of the person that we're trying to serve. So, all of you, I'm sure, appreciate that every entrepreneur faces unique obstacles, unique challenges. The entrepreneurial journey is not an easy one. And so the person who comes from middle class, the person who comes from education, that faces a host of problems. The person who comes from poverty faces all those problems and an additional set of hurdles. And this is not at all a lecture, it's more a table setting. So you can't approach the person who comes from poverty or disadvantage in the same way that whatever ecosystem is in Milwaukee works with scalable, high-tech, high-growth kind of ventures. And I'll give you a good example. I had one of our mentors call me a while back, and he said, yeah, Mike, you know, this mentoring thing is just not working. I gave the entrepreneur a assignment, and they didn't do it. They were late for a meeting. They missed another meeting. They just don't get it. They don't understand that if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's 20 hours a day, you put your heart and soul into it, and if you can't even show up for a meeting, you got no chance as an entrepreneur. To which I said, you know, your mentee is a single mom with 5 kids. You know, she's working 2 part-time jobs. You do understand that she's taking care of a chronically ill relative. Why don't you give her a break? So if you try to apply the conventional wisdom about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, what's involved in entrepreneurship, the potential to assist or help is going to be significantly compromised. You know, we talk about walking in the other person's shoes, but it literally is critical that you, I'm not talking about enabling behaviors that are dysfunctional, but I'm talking about coming from a position of empathy in terms of the folks that we're trying to work with. And so that's a bit of the theme. And so what are the unique problems that the folks that we're trying to assist face? Well, it starts with literacy. You know, in Indiana, where I live, the state has created a very simple vehicle to register a business. It's called a single member LLC. You can do it online. You can do it in about 15 minutes. And it costs $95, and you've got an LLC, and you're registered, and you get an employer identification number, and you get a business bank account, and so forth. But as you're completing that online, it asks you, well, who's the registered agent for your business? Well, I don't know what a registered agent is. So I don't know who the registered agent would be. Is that somebody I'm supposed to contact or get a hold of? Or, well, no, you're the registered agent, but they don't understand that. And so they don't fill out the form, and so they never register their business. And so there are fundamental issues of numeracy, of reading, of writing, communicating. But beyond what we call functional literacy, these entrepreneurs suffer from other literacy deficits, including financial literacy, technological literacy, economic literacy, understanding interest rates and supply and demand conditions and so forth. And then finally, business literacy, and then the whole language of business. Secondly,